Hi, everybody. Thank you and welcome for coming to our event. And hi, guys. Some of the people who are here for us who are former masterclass members. I've said hi to Barbara and Lori and Emalani, but I also see Jerry here. Not only took it once, he took it twice. And also, it's Chris, isn't it? Stars. Yeah, Chris, who was trying to see us in London, and it was right before Christmas, and we didn't quite connect. But I'm thrilled to see you virtually, Chris. It's terrific that you're here.
Thank
Okay,
you.
everybody. So, the purpose of this event is we get a lot of questions from people. And I wanted to give you all an opportunity to ask them. So if you have questions, please write them in the Q&A. This is a webinar, guys. So the people who are listening on a webinar. So we won't see their faces, but we'll see their questions. So if you have a question, just put it in the Q&A. And Robert, is it possible for us to see any of them if they have a question?
And not for the people who have questions, only the people who'll be answering on the panel.
Okay. So if you have questions, guys, make sure to write them in the Q&A. That's the easiest place for me to read them. So I'm going to be reading them and answering them and also sending them to some of our people. So first, I should actually introduce them and just let you know a little bit about who they are and let them introduce themselves. So Emalani, let's start with you. Where do you live?
Hi.
And tell us a little bit about when you went to the master class and some of the things that happened to you.
Wonderful. So I live in Southern California. Um, in fact, just moved from New Hampshire back to Southern California. So I was on the East Coast at the time I was in um, the master class. And I'm a psychic medium. I teach spirituality. So the number 8 really resonated with me. And I had heard about you before and, followed Joe Dispenza and followed a lot of healers. So I was excited to even get to work with you and be in that master class. We had incredible cooperation with each other, for one thing. The people in our group were very lovely, and we all had some sort of intuitive abilities. Almost everyone in the group was very in tune with their own spirit, and but a lot of us needed healing, and that's what brought us to you, right? We really needed each other. What's funny is we pretty much gelled really fast. And as the energy got bigger and people did get healed, like I had during the time I was having a lot of medical issues, um, I was pre-diagnosed with cancer. My doctors thought for sure I had liver cancer, and also I had a cyst on my ovary that they thought was probably cancer. So of course we brought that to the table for me, um, to use this masterclass and to follow your instructions and just do exactly what you presented, so that we could get these things. A woman needed to sell her house. There were so many things that everyone brought to the table: financial issues, marital issues. And for the first thing that really happened, which I think is indicative of who you are, is there was so much love in the group. And I knew it was because your spirit was there, your intention was there, and your intention of doing this masterclass was not just scientific, but also spiritual and everything mixed. It seemed like a whole body, a whole being masterclass. So as we worked on me, the group, um, I had medical tests, and what they thought was cancer was not. I had 2 hemangiomas on my liver, and one of them is completely gone, and the other one shrunk. So during this time, they were shrinking as we went along. And also the cyst, the same, came back negative for cancer, but also started to shrink as well. what's interesting is in the group, as we went along, a lot of emotional issues would come up as we did the work together. And what seemed to be holding some of the illnesses in place or the problems that we had in place really did seem to come up, show itself, and then diminish as we loved each other through this. I really felt like the whole thing, the core thing was love. For me anyway, that's what showed up, and your heart of helping humanity. I did do some things with you with other countries and stuff as well, so it was just an amazing experience. We stayed together for a long time after. We even went from yours to Joe's. We did a lot of different things together as a group. I have to say, the only thing that came up that was a little bit just uncomfortable was as we went along and we gelled more and more as a group and became one, that one figure, Infinity Eight, right? Personality issues came up in the group. It was very interesting. People started popping left and right with different, differences of opinion, and it did kind of popcorn, and we stuck with it though. A lot of us stuck with it and, stayed together and tried to help each other. The group even met each other in California in person. And that was something that was interesting. So really, we just followed your formula. And what helped the most was that it made us one unit so that we could all bring our own selves to the one table.
Is that why you think it popped off, that people were comfortable enough
Oh my
to
God.
be themselves?
100%. And I believe that love is its own entity, right? So it likes its own space. So wherever, when you're in a group like that, even in a relationship, right? You're in a group like that or a relationship, love wants to grow. And so it starts popping up dust bunnies from the corner, like, get out of my way because I can't fit in that space, right? So it brings it up in from the personalities that is in the way, or what's holding the illness in place, what's holding the whatever you're dealing with in place. Love just wants that space. So it has to push, I call them dust bunnies, it has to push the stuff up to the surface. And if the group knows what it's doing, if it can recognize that, right? Oh, this right now, this person is popping. It's, this is a place for us to heal this person or help this person heal. Then the group grows and love grows, and then more healing happens. That's what was so amazing to me, because it does push everything. It weeds the garden.
Yeah, well, we don't get that kind of connection in ordinary life, I guess. We are so isolated, and we were so isolated during COVID. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Jerry, because I know that was the big benefit for you. Do you want to talk a little bit about it? Now, Jerry joined during COVID, so it was all lockdown, and then joined the next year. So you want to talk a bit about that to the people listening? Just unmute yourself, love.
Thanks. Was said just now with Emily, I had the same experience with the groups that I was with. You join a group, you're in a tribe. Very soon, within a couple of weeks, you're in a family. The underlying current, which is love, nurture, caring, compassion. It's all there right away almost. It's amazing, actually. Never experienced it before, but it's incredible that I actually got on. I read all your books, and I tried to get on the year before, and I actually just got on that year, and it was the first year of COVID. Well, that saved me, because in the isolation, it's destructive to the soul. And I never had isolation in that year, neither the year after, and I am still with the groups now.
You're meeting both of them, Jerry.
Absolutely. 2 times a week for one time a week for the other. And, no matter how I feel coming into a session, if I could be down, I could be not so good and whatever, or I could be up. It doesn't matter. At the end, I always feel good. I always have a good day. And I emphasize that because that's the emotion, love. You can't say enough about it. It's half the world, at least.
Wow. Wow. Was that your favorite thing about the year-long experience?
Well, it was certainly the biggest thing, except that at the same time, as was said, we went through all of our intentions, and it helped so many people, as it did me. Just in the intention process, the focus of 8 or 10 people focusing on one person. I know what that feels like. I'd be the recipient, and I'd be sitting there, and then all of a sudden, everything get quiet and calm. I'd never felt that before, and I have felt it many times during the last 3 years. But the intentions helped incredibly. Well, you can say miracles, but they're normals type of thing in terms of things that happened. And best thing I could have ever done, that's for sure.
Thank you. Do you want to give everybody just a little quick taster of some of the intentions that came true in your group, whether to you or somebody else?
Whoa. Now you're testing my memory of over 3 years of, I don't know how many intentions. People, financial, people would be looking for a check in the mail, or looking to get some money in the mail, and they get one type of thing the next day after the intention. People were trying to get the exact house that they wanted type of thing, and popped up within a week type of thing. Gee willikers, so many. Now you put me on the spot. I can't.
Okay, you think about it and we'll come back to you, but that is great, Jerry. Thank you. And I remember you talking about, I remember saying to you, you sure you want to take it again? You're going to learn the same stuff. Why did you do that?
Well, it's never the same. That's just it. You go through these intentions, you're connecting with people. It's a synergy, I guess you call it, but it's not just the intention. It's the combination of the synergies of everyone that's there coming together all at once on the same subject or something. And it makes it incredibly more powerful. And can't think of the word.
Yeah.
Deeply feeling.
Yeah. Just supersizes it, I guess. Wonderful. Now I'm going to move on to, thank you, Jerry. I'm going to move on to Lori. Now, Lori had a big intention. Tell us a bit about what happened why you joined.
Yeah, so I'm from Fort Collins, and I was diagnosed with retina damage, and I was actually going blind. I was going blind for 8 years. I was an energy worker along with other things in my life, and so I always believed that I would be healed. I just didn't really know how I would be healed. So about 5 years ago, I became a Reiki practitioner. I was doing Reiki on my eyes every single day, still believing that I would be healed from that. I lived in a mountain area in Colorado, and I had to move because I couldn't see I shouldn't have been driving, but I couldn't see to drive. And so I moved into Fort Collins, and I happened to be walking my dogs one day, and I was listening to an interview that you had done with Joe Dispenza, and I was like, oh my God, I think this is what I need to do. So I immediately signed on for your masterclass. And I think that was back in 2021. I'm not sure, 2021, 2022, somewhere in there. And, I've just always believed that I would be healed. So I had gone to an eye doctor here in Fort Collins, just to establish an eye doctor. And I'd seen many doctors before that. I went to Denver to a retina specialist who said, you really don't need to come back because there's nothing we can do. We could always just check to see how much worse it's getting, but there's really no need. So when I moved to Fort Collins, I established a new physician, and I'd already been working with the intention group. And I think I went and saw her like on a Monday. The following week, she had set me up to see a retina specialist and cataract specialist. And in between that time, our intention group, one of the intentions was to heal my retina damage. So we met, and I could feel, I mean, immediately there was a shift. I didn't know exactly what. I still wasn't able to see really well, but I knew something had happened. So the next week, I went to the retina specialist.
Take a moment, take your time.
And I didn't have any damage.
Hmm.
It was totally healed.
How's your eyesight now?
2020.
Okay, guys, that's what can happen in one intention. In one intention.
Yeah.
Wow.
And our group is still meeting. We met every week for all those years until just recently. And so now we're just meeting once a month. But, you know, like when you were asking, I think it was Jerry, like, you know, what did you see? There's so many miracles that happen through the intention that I can't even name them all. I mean, it's just amazing, from healings of medical things, finding jobs, finding moving. I mean, you just name it. We saw it all. So I'm so appreciative.
I'm so glad. And I'm so glad you're seeing with
Yeah.
2020 eyes. That was
Yeah.
really exciting. You know, and I just listening to this, I just want to let everybody know this is not unusual. I mean, I just spoke in San Diego at a conference, and I always put people in groups just so they can experience it. So I'm not just talking about it, I let them feel it too. And there was a guy, this is my third paralysis case. It was a guy who was paralyzed on his right side he had a spinal issue, and the drug they gave him actually caused paralysis. And he'd been working with it for 9 years. It was improving, but he still couldn't move his right leg very well, and his muscles had atrophied. And he did his one little 10-minute intention and came up to me, and I videoed him because he said, "Watch, I'm dying to play tennis." I can do it now. So it's something that I see all the time, and it's quite extraordinary. If you could name one other thing in your group, if you can remember any other things that happened. You said there were so many. Does anything
There's just so
stand
many.
out?
One, I know there was a person that did have cancer, not in our group, but it was a friend of one of the people in our group, and we did an intention, and they fully recovered from that, health wise. I mean, there's just so many health things. I had friends that we did intentions on. Even currently, if we have a friend that we're working on, we'll just send out the intention to our group, and we individually do them since we're only meeting once a month. But I mean, there's just so many, I can't really remember all of them.
Well, wonderful. If the miraculous becomes commonplace, that is real living. Because I really want to emphasize, guys, that although I've got techniques that I teach everyone, and that's what people learn in the master class, we're all born with this ability. It's just that it gets squashed down and denied through all kinds of authority figures. But once you start meeting in a group, and a group is really central to this whole thing. Intentions individually do work, but they do get supersized in a group. And I guess it is exactly what Jerry said. It's the love, it's the compassion, it's the connection, the intention family. That's a big, big part of it. A big part of it. Well, thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on. I'm going to take a guy now. Now, Chris, I know you and Star had the experience. Tell us a little bit about your experience and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from San Francisco area, although we're leaving for Miami for 6 months tomorrow. Lynn, I just got to tell you what a difference you've made in stars in my life. I didn't understand it, but somehow out of the 8 billion people on the planet, just a few of us are called to come and actually meet you and be in your seminars. So this group of people is highly self-selected, so that I kind of like what everyone else has been saying. Everyone in our group was so spiritually oriented just off the get-go. And I have to say, Star and I coming together and doing this as a couple, it was really nice for us to see you and Brian together as a couple. A lot of people are in the spiritual realm are kind of doing it on their own, and it was just it really helped fill Star and me up just having another couple who are together working on their connection to the divine. So that was just wonderful. And just so you know, I think Star by now has probably given away at least 10 or 15 subscriptions to What Doctors Don't Tell You. And she's one of your best fans, and me, although you may not be aware of it.
That's really
our group has been meeting every Monday since we left. So
and when was
2019.
that? When were you part of the group?
2019. So for 4 years, every Monday night at 5 o'clock Pacific is when we meet. And of course, we've missed a New Year's Eve or something occasionally. But I'm the only guy in the Queen Isabella group, so I don't know how I'm one of the queens, but somehow that just has worked for us. I do feel very strongly, as does everyone in the group, that it's really important that both the male and female energy be represented in the intentions. Our intentions have gone the gamut. In 4 years, we've had family members die. We've had people sell their homes. People have lost their jobs. People have become ill. People have, and yet every Monday night we show up and go into a deep space. We early on took on, kind of a perspective of giving people chances to expand. So every week a different one of us leads. So one of it, we cycle through. There are 9 of us in our group, so we cycle through the 9 of us, and whoever's turn it is, they do something that works for them. A beautiful meditation, maybe a beautiful little short clip to watch or something, and so over time we are so close to being family. I'm not sure there is anything closer than where we're going together. There are many things that have seemed to happen miraculously. There have been some sicknesses and illnesses and things that have just faded away. Kind of like what Lori was saying, that you've been told what's going to happen, and it turns out no, that's not going to happen. Frequently, we do meditate. We do intentions for the planet. Star has recently started one. She's been doing an intention for the planet every single day since the attack on Hamas on Israel. Every single day. She's on day 110 now, sending them out to 80, 90, 100 people every single morning. So, this idea that we are not powerful or we're incapable or everything happens at the whim of the universe and has nothing to do with our desires is just not true. And anyway, so we just enjoyed ourselves, and just want to thank you and Brian for making the layout that worked so well for us.
Well, I'm so pleased. I'm really pleased about that. We do feel strongly that if we're going to talk about relationships, and I know a lot of people in the spiritual field, as you mentioned, to do it alone and talk about relationships, but they're alone. We felt like, well, I guess we have to walk the talk. So we've been married for 33 years, just by the way, and we do everything together. I mean, we work together. We're sitting side by side working, and we live together, and both our kids work for us too. So they're adults now. One runs things. She's the chief operating officer, and the other one does all of our graphic design. So if you see all the things on my social media and all of the banners on my website, that's our youngest daughter. who's fantastic at all of that. So we felt, yeah, it's really important that we have to walk the talk too. But I'm so thrilled to hear that you're meeting through all of this time, through these 5 years essentially, and still together, and that you're also looking outside your immediate group. Just for anybody interested, we have a thing called the 8 Revolution, because I'm very much of the grounds up spiritual activism point of view, that if we're going to have change, it's got to be a social movement. And so I have all kinds of free tools for people interested in trying to transform their community. So you just check it out on my website, lynnmctaggart.com. Let's hear from Barbara. Thank you, Chris, for showing up and
Sure.
giving us that wonderful story. Barbara, tell us,
Hello.
hi, where you're calling from and what happened to you, and what changed in your life.
Yeah, I'm calling from south of London, here in the UK, and I have been hearing from you from a friend in Germany, and immediately when he told me about you and what you're doing, something said, I want to know about this. And so I then saw about your intention essentials, and I signed up for that. And afterwards, I went into a group with other people. And then I also went to join your masterclass a year ago, and I joined another group. And for me, the biggest thing really is this whole COVID thing. It was filled with so much negativity. And to me, what you bring is really the opposite. You bring something so positive with your intentions and everything you offer. It is not only the intention classes. And so for me, the biggest change is that I feel I have something really positive in my life I can focus on and I can enjoy. And the same, like the other said, to be part of a group in my case, it is all women. We both groups are women, but we have come to a point where we just love each other, and where we are so glad to see each other once a week, and we are so glad to do intentions for each other. We feel for each other, we care for each other, and that makes such a big difference. And each time really after we meet, it makes me really feel good, and that is really wonderful. And you can say that the little miracles happened in our groups, not like major miracles, but little miracles. But I want to really warn as well to not expect like the miracles, the one intention and your cancer is gone, because that I think has thrown a few people when that didn't happen and then they left the group. But I can see, at least for myself and the people in my groups, we can see, to be constant, to be there as often as you can. That is so, so helpful. That really makes a change in your life. And what is also wonderful, that you don't even need to be present in the group. I have, for instance, one young lady, she was suffering or is suffering from long haul COVID. And she was so poorly that eventually she said, I cannot join you in the group because I'm just too weak. And I feel even weaker. I don't have the energy to focus. And so we offered her that we would do intentions for her, even if she is not within our group when we meet. And just recently, it was fabulous, that we had done 2 intentions for her. And as I said before, she always said, I don't feel better. I do so many things, nothing helps. But after the second intention, she wrote me an email saying, you know what? I feel better. And I'm just eating some nice food. And that was so cute, that obviously something has shifted in her, even if she was not present. That is the wonderful thing.
Yes. And, we forget too that nobody's really present. They're just on Zoom.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody's meeting virtually on my classes. And although I have plenty of Power of Eight groups who meet in person, my 2 Power of Eight groups are virtual. Most of my friends are in America who are part of that group. And I've got another women's only Power of Eight group, and they're all in America too. So we're all very, very spread apart, but that doesn't matter. I'm also going to say that one thing that thank you so much for bringing up, hey, if the miracle doesn't happen, you shouldn't be discouraged, because one of the things that I teach on the masterclass is to break it down. A lot of people think initially, wham, I'm going to do this one amazing intention and that'll do it. And plenty of times it does. I mean, I've got 3 people who have been in conferences of mine who have got up out of wheelchairs, 3 of them, and counting, and many, many miracles that happen with just one intention. A woman who was at a retreat of mine who just completely reversed stage 4 cancer. And it was mainly to do with the one intention that she did with her group. But many times it doesn't happen. And so what I hope that I teach is, and that people absorb, is to break down your intentions and do baby steps. And one of the things that's been so helpful, particularly for people with health issues, is to get the group to intend to find out the source of your issue or the best treatment for your issue. That also works really well. We've had many people who didn't know why they were ill. And with the intention, they discovered it was black mold, or one of their body issues, like one of their filtration issues wasn't working. Those kinds of things become the intention that causes the healing. So I am not just I'm not just trading in miracles. I'm trying to trade in a methodology of working together in groups that can help and heal in all kinds of circumstances. And we're also not just doing for health. But thank you, Barbara. Thank you for sharing. And I love that you guys are still meeting, and that you're really, really close. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on to my final person before I start taking question, and that is Georgie, who is part of my Masterclass 23, right? You're still just finishing up your year. Would you like to just unmute yourself, love?
I'm finishing up, and we're still meeting. Actually, we started off with 9 people, and we whittled down to around 6 and 7. But sometimes some people cannot make it, so we're getting together with another group, so we're going to have more. But I found out about you from Deborah Poneman. I follow her, and she told we intention in every time we meet, we intention, and out of her group, we morphed into around 4 or 5 master classes, and in every one of them we intention, and it just feels good. We are getting better and better. We're getting healthier and healthier. Anytime there is an intention to be held anywhere, I am there. I am there for Israel. I'm always there. Yeah, when we do the Sunday intentions, I feel good. I feel, yeah, every day is better than the day before. It seems like I am 73 years old. I played soccer my whole life. At 69, when I was 69 years old, I had to quit because of COVID. They stopped playing. We stopped playing, and I
Your
also
knees were pretty
got
bad too,
divorced that
weren't
year.
they? Weren't your knees pretty bad too?
Pardon?
Weren't your knees
Oh
quite
yeah,
bad too?
my right knee and my left knee did. It was like running on stilts, and being with my groups, and I don't even have to intention for myself. I for other people, and suddenly things started happening to me that were very. My knees recovered, my strength came back. Sometimes I intention that I'm doing yoga or working out, yeah, and my muscles are growing. I can't believe that, but this
Wonderful.
is quantum physics is something fantastic. It's just up until COVID, I was a businessman. I was chasing the money. And I don't know if I was ever as happy as I am now because I am a Zoomie. Before I used to go bar hopping, I go Zoom hopping now. I I am in maybe 6 or 7 groups, and to me this feels good. Like just listening to all these good stories. It's fantastic. Like
We don't get much of
people
this in the nightly
meditate. I
news, do
meditate
we?
also.
Yeah, we don't get much of this.
Pardon?
We don't get much of these positive stories in the nightly news, do we? Or anywhere around,
We don't.
anywhere around.
And you know what? The most important thing is I joined up again. I want to be with more people. The more people I'm with, the happier I am. Before it was like, you have your friends and you hang out with your friends or business people. Here we are in the we meet people from the whole world. I grew up in Germany, and in one of my classes, I have a lady I'm from Munich, and we have a lady from Munich, and it is like we've known each other forever. The thing is, in all the groups here that I am in, I feel I am gonna have these people that I'm together with, they're gonna be friends for life, and they're gonna care about me. I'm talking too long, right?
No, no, thank you. Thank you. And you're absolutely right. They will be your friends. They're your intention family. And for many
Yes.
people, as I say, we don't get to have that anymore. We don't have our neighborhoods and communities the way we did. And that's certainly that propels me too, is I've noticed how healing it is having these groups all the time, and also being surrounded in positivity, because something else you talked about is how it's so positive, it makes you feel good, you get such great stories. And as I say, the stories out there are pretty grim at the moment. We're all hearing all kinds of horrendous stuff, and news has thus always been that way, but it's particularly grim at the moment, or at least if we were going to listen to it. And I hope this is a little light of positivity for people. And that is one of the big intentions, one of my biggest intentions. Well, thank you so much, Georgie. And I know that I was so interested one time when you were talking, because you were talking all about some amazing synergistic things happening with your son, etc. But you kept that one a little secret about your knees, that suddenly your knees had recovered. So I hope to see you on the soccer pitch.
And everybody laughs. I'm 73 years old, but I really miss that. That's the one thing that I miss. And I really want to go out there. Everybody laughs at me, but my family. But in the spring, I'm going to try again.
Well, wonderful. I'm going to start answering some questions and field some to some of you if I could. First one is from Meryl. She says, I'm very interested about how you use intention in your own daily life. Well, I tell you what, I write it down. I literally write down what I want to happen in my life that day, that week, that month. It's how I write books. I literally will say, I write down how many words I'm going to write that day. I really do plan out my day and plan out my life. But I think it's bigger than that. I think intention isn't just about what I can get and achieve. I think it's also about your relationships and intending. And that's one of the things we try to teach in this course too, is how to use intention in relationships, how to use intention to counter negativity, your own and everybody else's. And it's a big key feature for me at the moment because we're so polarized and we so need to be right all the time and to demonize the people who don't agree with us. And that's been exacerbated by COVID, by politics, et cetera, et cetera. So I try to use that in my own life. I try to use it with my children, with my staff, and with everything in my life. Sabrina says, I have a question. She's starting in the course in February. Yay for us too, to you, Sabrina. I have a question. What happens if we're in pretty bad physical shape and have more than one thing to heal? Well, why don't I throw that out to, why don't I throw it to Lori? You certainly had a physical challenge.
Yeah. If you have multiple, I think you concentrate on one area at a time. That's kind of what I would suggest, is that you would just concentrate one area at a time and then work your way through it. I had realized, like with my retinas getting damaged, I was very abused growing up. And I realized that and I did a lot of work around that. But the reason I was going blind, and it really came really clear through my intention, is that I really didn't want to see that. I really didn't, so there was a lot of emotional pieces attached to that. So when you get down into the root of that, I think that helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And breaking it down, doing the baby steps, doing the various types of intentions, not giving up. That's a real
Right,
key.
not giving up.
Don't
Yeah, and I
give up.
remember going to your class, and I remember one of the classes was pretend like you have your intention. So I went to the class without, my glasses on, which I could barely see with them on. So I went without my glasses, and I was pretending the whole time, I can see this is lovely. And I did that the whole time during the intention group, just pretended. And when I would wake up in the morning, I pretended like I could see the clock. I could see what time it was. So you really have to feel it, believe it, touch it, see it, all the things that Lynn will teach you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so important to imagine yourself being healthy and well. I had my own health challenge about 5-6 years ago, and I was struggling walking. And I decided for myself that when I was better, I never thought an if. I always thought when I'm better, I'm going to take dancing. I'm going to learn how to do ballroom dancing. And my little guilty secret is watching a show on TV over here in the UK called Strictly Come Dancing. And I'm watching them all, and I can't move standing up, but I was sitting down on the sofa, moving my feet, saying, I can do that. I could do that. I'm going to be able to do that. And I kept imagining it in my head. And now, I can do everything. I'm completely healthy and doing HIIT classes and doing them side by side with the 30-year-olds. But it was that imagining, and also what was so important for me was never giving up.
Never.
And never saying, oh no, this is only getting worse. I'll never get better. And I think that's a real key feature.
Yeah, and I also think, I quit going to the retina specialist because I didn't want to hear what they would say, because they kept telling me over and over, there's no cure, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. So you have to be strong in that.
I think that's really true. And one of the things we talk about either in that class or one of the other ones is find a practitioner who's going to be your cheerleader, who's going to say yes. I mean, my mother-in-law was in end-stage breast cancer, and we brought her to a doctor. Her first doctor had said 3 months to live. That's it. And we brought her to an integrative doctor who examined her, and her breast was basically raw meat. And he said, we can handle that. And I thought, yes, this is the guy. She's going to be better. And he did. He reversed her cancer. She lived for many years more. So it's key there that your practitioner is also a cheerleader for you. There is a 61% difference in outcome, according to one study, between a positive person treating you and a negative person treating you. I'm going to take a question from Petra. She said she bought a course. I guess it's my new science course to get an idea about the work, but it's scientific research information my brain can't process. Petra, probably a good idea to watch some of my videos about intention, because that course was supposed to ground people in the quantum physics. It's not really, we do talk some science in this course, and I try to give backdrop and scientific evidence for what I do. But this is much more about technique and practice and groups. Let's see. I live in the north of Germany. Will I be in a group with people who speak German? Since 2 months, I'm already in a Power of 8 group and feel very good in this group. I booked the masterclass and now I have a doubt if it's not too much to have 2 Power of 8 groups. Well, Karima, you've heard from Georgie, who's got 7 groups, and Chris, who's got 2, and many others and Jerry, who's got 2. I've got 2. I think what's going to happen and be different for you is providing you with the full 13 keys to intention mastery, using it in relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So if you've done initial stuff with a Power of 8 group, you'll take it to the next level. That's the intention with this. And somebody else asked, Anthea said, how prescriptive does the group need to be? Our group meets fortnightly on Zoom and doesn't always follow the recommendations in the book. It's powerful and effective and has been going for 3 years. Would be better if we followed your recommendations more closely? All I can tell you, Anthea, is that we've tested what I teach in 41 intention experiments, and 37 have shown measurable, positive, mostly significant effects. Everything from trying to make seeds grow faster, to purifying water, to lowering violence in war-torn areas and healing people. And I can only tell you my own experience, which has been, and the experience we've seen in the studies we've done on Power of 8 groups. And it seems that the techniques are different from just ordinary meditation or what happens in other modalities. So I would recommend that you try what I teach and maybe delve into it a bit further too. How long will it be before I find news about an intention of the week, says Mahela. Now, Georgie has said he follows those Sunday intentions. By that, he means our intentions of the week that I send out with my e-news every Friday. Ineki says, have there been groups that never really got off the ground and just didn't make the process work for them? Anybody want to answer that in the group? If you do, just put your hand up. It's hard to say because, Emalani, yes.
Hi, I can answer that.
Great.
You know, like I said, the intention of the group becomes one thing, right? So you become one with each other really well. And the group does kind of kick out what doesn't match with each other sometimes. So the personalities will, so a group can not evolve, but we had people come to our group from a different group that never took off. So it depends on, you know, the people involved and the intention of actually growing together, I believe. That's the one thing that and you can make the intention before you join a group that you actually join a group that will come together and stay together. So do your intentional work before you even join a group, which is really, it's one thing that we did in our group was we helped each other hone in on the best intention for each other. So if someone had an issue or an illness and they weren't quite sure what their intention was, could be the best intention for them, our intention, our group would shoot some out there and we'd find the best intention for that person or ourselves and then do the work with it. So if you, and one of the biggest things was to choose. The universe wants you to choose, right? So choose to be in a group that actually comes together. And then when you are together and things seem to go a little awry maybe with different personalities, choose as a group, somebody lead and choose to have that group come together within your hearts. That worked for us. We joined hearts. We would visualize our hearts coming together. So you do have, the intention works even before you get in the group. So intend that you do have a good group.
I love that. And by the way, just to answer and augment that from Adelheim asked, I think that's how you pronounce your name. If there are personal issues coming up in the Power of 8 group, is there support from you and your team to sort them out? Yes, we have on occasion had to move people from groups or reorganize them, reconstitute them. That's very rare, but if there are issues, I mean, we have our support team to answer them, and we decide. I see everything that comes through from the masterclass from my team, and we decide, okay, we're going to move this. We've had 1 or 2 occasions where somebody was very disruptive, and we've had to just try to sort it out or ask them to stop meeting in the group. But most of the time, the overwhelming number of people go in there, as Chris said, they're already on a spiritual path and they come in with an open heart. And also they're investing at very least 82 hours a year on this. And that's the very minimum. With all of my live classes, meeting once a week for an hour, doing extra homework that I throw out in between my sessions and sometimes else later in the year. So the people who are really doing the work are investing a lot of time into it. So yes, we do help people out. And somebody said Sharon said she wanted to take it next year. And Dana said she wish she could do this, but she's a retired senior and this is too large an investment for her. And so both of them have suggested saying they can't really take this right now. Now, first of all, to answer Dana about the price, there's a lot that goes into the masterclass. So we have 2 technical people on board with the masterclass with the live sessions to handle any questions, to make sure it's seamless. Robert is a fantastic person who's hosting it now and handles so much seamlessly. So all that behind the scenes stuff happens. Plus my whole team have to put people into groups. We have clinics through the year, and of course there's my time too. So there's a whole bunch of bodies that have to come together to make this masterclass happen. So we have to charge a fee for it, and we try to keep it as low as possible. For people who can't manage that or just want to start up a group, there are so many free aspects to my website. There's all kinds of tools people can start with for free. Just signing up gives them some basic tools in intention. The 8 Revolution, I mentioned before, is a whole bunch of free tools. You can join my community for free and just advertise. Hey, I want to start a Power of 8 group. Anybody else in my time zone? So you'll do that yourself and just start out in a rudimentary fashion and do that. Plus, I have some more basic courses like Intention Essentials that may be more affordable for some, and my new science course, and many others, my Power of 8 recorded course, which is some of the basics of intention, and so forth. So what I try to offer are things for everybody's purse. Any person can benefit from just joining the website and taking advantage of what we've got with podcasts and all the rest. Marlene says, my English isn't very good. Is it still possible to take part? Sure. And if you speak, for instance, German, we will, because I've got a sizable German audience, and German people join, we'll put you in a group with Germans. If I understand correctly, says Rachel, the group meetings are at least 80 minutes each. Is that correct? No, they are 60 minutes. We suggest an hour. 8 times 10 minutes each, she said. No, you don't do intentions for everybody in every group. What we recommend is no more than 3 in a group. Is that your experience? Let's see, Barbara, what did you do? How many intentions did you do in one session? Just turn your microphone on, please, Barbara. Thank you.
We do minimum of 2 intentions, and sometimes we have time to do 3 intentions. And we not sometimes we don't plan who is getting an intention, because sometimes, you know, spontaneously people write, oh, I have broken a leg or something. Can you please do an intention for me? So yeah, so minimum 2 or 3 intentions per session. And sometimes we go over a little bit, you know, like 5 or 10 minutes if we have time. Sometimes people need to leave earlier. It doesn't matter. And I also want to maybe answer quickly for the lady who said about the German, because we have a lot of German-speaking people in our group, and some of them weren't really good in English. But I can tell you, you know, that incredibly quickly people learn. And now everybody can express themselves. You know, it is just mind-blowing. Even only with this one session per week, you know, your English gets better. So there is no problem. I don't see any problem.
Thank you so much for that, Barbara. Teresa asked, is Lynn herself involved in all the groups? I wish I could be, but I think that would probably take pretty much all of my time, all of the time. So I wouldn't be able to do the other work that I do. What you do that's different from a lot of classes is you're live and interactive with me every session that we have together. So it's a bit like this. I'm teaching you I meet you for 2 hours for the first 6 weeks. So 2 hours a week on a Saturday. We meet and I teach for a bit. We take questions. I put you in groups. You can do that on Zoom. You can put people into groups. You can put people in pairs. So you get to do exercises and work together. So when you do that with me, the 6 sessions that I hold that are 2 hours each, so that's 12 hours of teaching and sometimes more. And then any intention clinic that I have, and I've got about five or so of them through the rest of the year, are coaching sessions, and I'm live and interactive. So every time you meet with me, it's live. It's not recorded. But if you miss a session, the whole thing is recorded so you can watch it back. But you meet with your group. Once we put you in groups, you meet with your group ideally weekly. Most everybody, and as I mentioned earlier, the people who show up are the people who have major transformations. If people join and they just take my teaching and they don't practice it in the group, they're the ones who tend to leave. and tend to say, no, it didn't work for me. But it's not just about my teaching, it's about your doing. You guys are the ones who do it. An anonymous person asked, is this class only offered once a year? Yes, because I work with people for a year. I was going to skip this one because I'll be unable to participate between March 9th and April 5th, which seemed like it was just too much to miss for both the class and a group I might be assigned to. Please speak to this. Well, as I mentioned, I think you would end up being able to attend for 3 to 4 sessions, and you would miss 2 to 3 of them, and 1 week of meeting with the group. So it depends on if you're happy enough to watch 3 recordings. This will work for you because you're going to be meeting with these people at very least until the middle of February 2025. So we have people coming from New Zealand and Australia who just can't stay up till 3 a.m. to be live with me, but they watch the recordings and they get as much out of it. We get a lot of people from the Far East. Kathy asks, is it essential to read the Power of 8 book before the master class? It's an issue of finance for me. No, absolutely not essential, only recommended. Will we cover the beginning essentials within the masterclass course itself? We will. If you want to condense that, we have that recording of the Power of 8 course, so you can watch it. I will still be covering the essentials with the rest of the 13 keys. It's just going to go at a slightly quicker pace, and there will be certain things that I will be covering a little less than I do in the more elementary courses or the book. Somebody else, what if you're unable to start on February 17th to do another commitment? As I mentioned, it's always recorded, so you can watch the first one and come the next session. Some people in the course have some commitment or another on one of the sessions, but that's one reason why we record it, as well as you have access to that for the year. What does a group of 8 meeting look like? How long do you meet? How does it work in a group? Jerry, this is a good one for you. And how long on average do the sessions last, said Iniki?
Well, I was going to say every group is different, but I only have 2, but they're different. In one group, we wanted to meet 2 times a week, and the other group only 1. We went an hour and a half. I guess we didn't realize there was an 80-minute curfew on the groups or something, because we were going an hour and a half, and that was really effective. We had a chance to connect emotionally with whatever the intention was with the person. There's always background to the intention, and the more information we had, the more we were able to connect to it. And my experience is that the intentions were that much more effective. Sorry, what was the other part of that question?
It was how long it lasted, and it said, how does it look like? How does it work in the group?
How does it work in the group? Well, I mean, we have all different personalities, but we're very, very common in terms of backgrounds and what have you. I mean, we're here. I don't know how many people you have looking at this, but we're here. And the other 8 billion are not. That counts for something, type of thing. There's a lot of background to it. That's why we feel like family almost right away. What do we do? In terms of time, I've told you, I get carried away with myself. I forgot the back part of that question again.
No, it's also, I guess what they're really asking is, how does it work in the group? So what we usually teach is that one person takes the role, maybe just that week, of the leader. And so helps the group formulate an intention for someone. And usually you take it in turns, right? So it's 2 or 3 each session, maybe more, but about 3 maybe. And then some feedback. Is that pretty much how it goes, Jerry?
Yeah, well, you have excellent documentation on how to run a meeting because there are a lot of hats in the meeting. There'll be someone who's saying the intention. There'll be someone who's doing the housekeeping and saying, coordinating type of thing. There'll be someone who may be in charge of the opening ceremony. We always have an opening ceremony and also a closing one. We have developed a system of using a word processor that we share, in which case then we can type in the intention and we can actually interactively craft the intention. And we've got like all 10 people contributing to it type of thing. So it's
Very cool.
Yeah, it is. And it works very well. And such a good feeling afterward.
I may ask you for that afterwards so I can recommend it for people. That sounds like a really good product to use.
It's any product. It's a word processor. Use any one. You just share it. That's all.
Oh, fabulous. Okay, fabulous. And so you craft so what I provide, by the way, everybody listening, is I suggest that you trade off on the person who's leading it for that session so nobody becomes a bossy boots. And we, as Jerry says, there's somebody who records what's going on so you can take the intentions you intended for and then observe what responses there are, because we give forms for everybody to keep track of what's going on, because you tend to forget if you were ill and 6 months later you're completely well, you forget what it was like back 6 months ago. So we want to help you keep in touch and see and map your progress. And then there's somebody who's the timekeeper, because you keep time. It's each intention's only 10 minutes. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And I also recommend people give feedback. And so they give feedback on, what happened, or how it felt. One of the things that helps a lot, at least in my group, and I suggest that people do it, is for people to share what visualizations they had for the recipient, because some amazing things come out. And also the group oftentimes has similar visualizations. Did that ever happen to you, Jerry?
Yes, absolutely. It's actually incredible, really. That was one of the miracles that we experienced numerous times, is that we would have the exact same type of image that would come out. And I mean, it's not as if we talked about the image beforehand or anything like that. It would be very ephemeral as far as the intention was. And yet we would all have very similar type of images. The other thing is that we actually had an experimental class type of thing, where we would actually do some of those experiments that you were talking about, and going through it ourselves. So having seeds grow or plants grow. There was not try to read someone's mind, but someone would be thinking about something and have a piece of paper with whatever the thing they were thinking on over that water type of thing. They were amazing. Like, I was blown out of the water because they were just incredible in terms of the results of that. So we had a session on, well, we had a number of sessions on that. We would have once a week for a good 20, 30 weeks type of thing. It was quite good.
That's one of the sessions, by the way, everybody, is I try to teach people to read other people's intentions. And we play around with all kinds of things. Oftentimes when I'm in person with people, and sometimes I've done this online, I'll embed a word into a little jar of water, and I'll ask people to intuit what the word is. And it's really quite amazing how many people pick it up. But that is our ability to, we have ESP. We have the ability to read other people. And of course, that's really important when it comes to understanding their intentions, to be able to be intentional when you are with them. Rachel asked an interesting question. If not every member can make the meeting time, what does that mean for the strength of the actualizations of the intentions? I'll let you in on the secret, guys. It doesn't have to be 8. It can be 6. It can be 12. 8, I think I've explained. We came up with Power of the 8 really by accident. I was just playing around with the idea back in 2008 and just said, well, I think I'll put people in groups of 8 or so. And have them do intentions to someone. And my husband's a great headline writer. And he said, I love it, the Power of 8. And literally that's how it happened. It was by accident. There's a lot of implications of 8, and it's a lucky number in China. It's a sideways infinity sign. It's got sacred geometry, but my experience is it doesn't have to be 8. So having a member not show up doesn't seem to matter. Did it matter for you, Chris?
Oh, we've done we're very flexible in our group. So, somebody's having a friend they haven't seen in 20 years and it meets the same time. She just says, sorry, well, I won't be there next week. But we still include her, as kind of we did in the when we were with you, we would form into a group and mentally, spiritually, we see ourselves forming into a circle, whether they're there on the video call or not. And so it's not uncommon that 1 or 2 people will be missing on any given week. But there's such a closeness after a while that you feel their presence, you feel the other person there, even if they aren't even on the Zoom call. And that's part of the delight of it. In fact, we've gone even farther that so far we've had 3 personal get-togethers of our entire group. So everybody flies down to San Francisco and we're together for an entire week. We've done that 3 times now. And so we've gone past the Zoom level, because as wonderful as Zoom is, God, it's really different when you can go up to somebody and give them a hug. Mm-hmm. And so, we as a group decided, we were together when we were in Spain and so on. And so let's do it again. So I do want to encourage that as wonderful as Zoom is and the energy work, we don't need to be in the same room to do the energy work. There's no question about that in our minds. And yet it is kind of fun for us to once a year to get together. And last year we got together during the Fleet Week here in San Francisco and got to watch all the aircraft carriers and everything zooming overhead while we did our intentions. But
that's so cute.
So it really has become much more like a family, like family members. Hey, let's get together for our reunion. So a lot of fun.
That's so great. Well, Star and Chris came to a retreat of ours in Spain. In the Rioja district, and that's what they're referring to. We do work in person in retreats, once a year retreats, as they are at the moment. We've started holding them in the UK, and well, the runner-up for Downton Abbey location, and a great spiritual place. And now we focus on Heal Your Past specifically. Somebody else asked, Rachel asked, does it work if you do intentions for loved ones struggling with certain things, like my mom's knee surgery, or a friend having her kids brainwashed against her through an ex-husband? Well, there's 2 different questions there. Let's throw this one to Emalani. Emalani, do you ever do intentions for people outside the group?
It was so hold on. It was so interesting because as we went along, I just remembered, and I put it out there in the chat. We did do an intention for a family member, so a loved one, one of our group's family members. I can't remember who exactly, but and she did heal of her cancer. We actually had a real bona fide healing of cancer where she was in the hospital. She was being treated. We did intention for her, and so she was not in our group, but she was a family member. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's, when you think of it as you become one, it's almost like Russian dolls, right? You become one. Your family is one, your friend is one, you become one as a group. So all of your people are one as with you too. So you can really intend for anyone. As long as they are in agreement with it, the more receptive they are, the better it works.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing we teach is they've got to give their permission. Yeah. So unless they are very tiny, children or people in a coma or whatever, I always ask and recommend that you ask their permission, because I always feel that people have a right to their own agency and not what you want for them. So somebody else asked about being in Central Time, and do we always meet in the evening? Almost always I think we almost always meet on the Saturdays in the evening. That is, well, it's 6 p.m. my time. That's UK time. So that is 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. It would be 12 noon Central. And that's on Saturdays. And that is my meeting time for our classes. And I've chosen it so that I can, the most number of people can see it. You know, it's still not bad for people in Pacific, even Hawaii. And, you know, for those who are night owls in New Zealand and Australia, they can still watch, too, and everything in between. When you get put in groups, we deliberately put you in other people on or in or close to your own time zone, so it's easy to meet. And we also ask you for your preferred meeting times, weekend, weekdays, evening, morning, whatever. And we try to honor all of that. And somebody also asked if a member tunes in at a different time, do the intentions still work the same due to quantum physics? A cool question. We recommend that you all do it at the same time, but I have had instances where people have tuned in later or even before, and it has seemed to help. We don't know. There's no way to really quantify it, but as we said before, not everybody makes every meeting every week. So as long as there is a decent sized group, as I say, I think you probably need 4 to 5 at very minimum. And then when it's much larger than 12, it gets a little bit unwieldy so that people don't get a chance. Anne asked if a husband wants to join, can he get a couple discount? If you write to Molly at MOLLIE at wddty.co.uk, or Zara, ZZAHRA at wddty.co.uk, and I'll ask one of my team members to write that in the chat. You can discuss it with them, but you know, we are happy to do couples discounts. And Rachel asked, does this work with business growth as I'm launching a new business to help moms dealing with increasing outbursts with their kids, teaching new skills in positive parenting that will eliminate power struggles? That is a very noble thing to do, Rachel, and a really well needed one. Anybody see anything about business growth? I have so many stories in the Power of 8 about people launching their own businesses. One of my favorite is Jolie, whose husband absolutely didn't want her to work. He wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom. And by the end of our masterclass, he was the one who was the big cheerleader behind her, and she launched her own business. And we have businesses that have got the investment they needed, businesses who have grown hugely over the year, who have been, you know, noted as top growths on stock markets, et cetera, et cetera. But anybody in our little group here experience anything like that? Emalani.
I definitely experienced that. And it was funny because in our group, money seemed to be one of the things that we struggled the most with intention. But my business actually, I went from $4,000 a month to $10,000 a month right away. It was so simple once we got the intentions right. So my clients I got so many more clients coming to me, and you could feel the opening as we did the intentions. You could feel yourself open to more. So yes, it does work. It does. Honestly, when you all intend the same intention at the same time, it is magical.
Wonderful, wonderful. And That is, oh, somebody said, thanks, Emalani. How important is it that the groups have an equal amount of males and females? I would say pretty categorically, it doesn't matter at all. There are some that have half and half. There are some where there's all women. There are some that have a lot of guys in them. And it doesn't seem to matter. It's nice to have a mix of female and male energy. It just brings something different to the group. But we also have so many groups that are, and I have one group, I have two Power of Eight groups. One's all women, as I mentioned, and one is real 50-50. And they're both very powerful. Do you have to concentrate on the intention the whole time? What if people don't show? Can you do intention with 6 or 7 people? We've answered that. Anybody want to talk about, Georgie, do you want to talk about how long you hold an intention and how it goes?
Actually, when we have a lot of intentions to do, we hold 10 minutes. We did 8 minutes. And I did also by myself. I intention all the time. My family wants me to intention for them on anything. And I intention for like until I see 3 threes on the Choco Ray, or I see 4 fours on the 3 fours on the Choco Ray. That's how I intention. Those are numbers that make me happy, and I feel good when I do those. And I really believe, yeah, it doesn't matter what you intend for, as long as you put it out there, it will happen. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen in a half a year. It will happen eventually when the time is right. I really believe that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we've had people who have I had one woman who was intending for a new place to live with her dog. And she kept intending for an apartment with a back garden, a backyard for the dog, or some little place for the dog. And she kept intending and intending. She had a certain budget and nothing was happening. And 10 months later, she got an email from somebody she didn't even know saying, oh, by the way, I have a place for you. And it turned out to be a house much bigger than she wanted, or that she had originally thought she could afford, let's put it that way, for less than she was going to pay, and with a giant backyard. So she got more than she asked for. She was just patient and she got it. And so I think that it, as Georgie says, it will happen. And by the way, he was talking about Choco Ray, which is the music I always play with in intentions, because it was the first one we chose when we did the very first intention experiment. And it seemed to be so important and powerful. And it also means, Choco Ray essentially means powering up for Reiki masters. And that is what I call my process. So it was this amazing synchronicity. Jasmine asks, and this will be one of our last questions, will this work for finding love? I've been single most of my life, and I believe I have a lot of resistance. I think by handing this over to the group, I can surrender and get out of the way. Well, it certainly has worked for a number of my masterclass members. Joy comes immediately to mind. Joy asked the group to do an intention to get more love in her life. And out of the blue, she just had been single for a very long time, was living in Australia. This is during COVID. She gets a call out of nowhere from her boyfriend from 35 years ago. And they start corresponding, and then they start phoning. And then he makes the big decision to come to Australia. He's in the UK, she's in Australia. He comes to Australia, has to go through the 2-week quarantine in the hotel, but he's so determined. He does. They then get together and they now live together. So yes, and I've seen it happen with people of all ages. It's quite amazing. But one of the things that I try to help people learn is how to be very specific with your intentions. how to ask for, and we learn how to, what are the different intentions, what to use if it's a relationship or finding love, or what it is in improving a relationship, what it is for finance, what it is for health, the best one for career, and so forth. So there are ways to do this, and ways to phrase it, and I see that it's key. I've seen over the year it is key. And Ronnie, one of the 5 live intention clinics held throughout the year, mostly at that same time, at around 6 p.m. UK. Okay, Aneki said, do I have any stats? Yeah, I do. I did my first group of Power of 8 members for a year were my Petri dish. And so I kept a tally of positive transformation. The key element was the people who continued to meet week by week. Of those, pretty much 100% experienced some sort of major transformation. The people where it didn't work were the people who didn't show up. And that's why one of the things that I say from the very beginning is you got to show up, you got to commit. If you can commit, things will happen to you. Things will happen, and you will connect with the people, you will get your intention family, and amazing things will happen to you. Okay, I think that's about it. Let's see. And yes, we are going to be sending out a recording for anybody who didn't show up. There were many more people who wanted to sign up but just weren't able to come. Any last comments from our panel? Anybody want to say anything? You've all been fabulous, guys. Anything, any last comments? If you do, just
I have a last comment, couple of
Great.
I didn't get a chance to. Someone was mentioning about the price, and the price maybe look high for a year, but it goes longer than a year. I mean, you can look at it, we're some 4 years, 5 years, 6 years type of thing. So you have to look at it over a longer period of time. Next thing, sometimes they take time. In other words, a time limit we want immediately. Well, the universal spirit doesn't know time, and it could take longer. And it's okay. Just be positive, and you keep present to it and open to it. It'll happen.
Absolutely. And by the way, just to throw it into context, the cost of the year-long course is about the cost of a cup of coffee, less than a cup of coffee a day. So that cup of coffee you buy in Starbucks, save on that and you can afford the master class. Okay, Georgie, you put your hand up.
I say, come and join us, your family of light. You will not regret it.
Thank you so much. And by the way, one of our people said, is it possible to reverse my mother's dementia? She becomes 94 on February 17th. I can never guarantee anything, but I've seen some very positive things happen in the group with all sorts of supposedly incurable situations. We've seen that with all kinds of things. As I say, 3 people have got out of their wheelchair, people with genetic diseases and so forth. So there's always an opportunity for that, or to find out the best course of treatment for her. Because putting my other hat on, there's all kinds of things, what doctors don't tell you how. There's all kinds of things that can treat dementia successfully. Hi, Chris.
I just wanted to say one last thing is that
Sure.
to me, what you did is you provided a container for us to work in. So in our group, we have a master Reiki healer, we've got a trance channel, we've got all kinds of people. We all have connections to God. We all have connections to the divine. And what's nice though is the container you provide, it kind of gives us a reason to get together and kind of a set of steps to go through. So we do 2 intentions every Monday, and and people have to send them to us ahead of time so that we get a chance to think about them before we go into the intention itself. But some of the greatest parts is the fact that a bunch of people who care about connecting to the divine get together in a Zoom call. And so we go probably lots of places that you would never expect us to go, but you were the one that created the container that brought us together. And so we get to experience not only the wisdom that you and Brian brought together, but also the wisdom of all the individuals in our group who go well beyond anything that I would ever have expected.
Fantastic. Wonderful. And then you keep growing together. That is wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for being here, ex-masterclass members and current Power of 8 group attendees. It's been thrilling to see you all again. Everybody, I hope this has been helpful for you. And we hopefully look forward to seeing you in the masterclass or in one of my other courses. I've got plenty of other courses too for people who want a shorter course, a cheaper course, or some other way of working with me. So lots of love, everybody. Thank you so much, Robert, for hosting this, and hope to see you all soon. Take care now. Bye.